The Democrat Party, corporate America, and the social media titans are dividing us by race to keep us at each other's throats. Because when America comes together, the power of populism is a threat to their power and profits. So when Americans realize what we have in common and we fight for each other, not against each other, that's when the American dream will be fulfilled. Joining me now to react, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, do you agree with that assessment?
I think it's exactly right. I think wokeness is trying to destroy America, and we're seeing, whether it's the corporate media or big business, we're seeing woke corporations that are engaged as the political enforcers of the radical left, and are trying to silence, are trying to cancel, are trying to punish American citizens, and I think it is profoundly dangerous.
So what does the Republican Party need to do about that? There's always been talk about trust busting, a la Teddy Roosevelt, but it never seems to go anywhere. What's the next step?
Look, we've got to grow a backbone. We've got to stand up to big business, and we've got to take on big tech. We've got to use the antitrust laws to break up big tech, to go after them for abusing their monopoly power. This week, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal on big companies and woke corporations, and I made a commitment this week that I am no longer accepting even 1 penny from any corporate PAC. Over 9 years in the Senate, corporate PACs have given me about $2.6 million, but I said enough is enough. These guys are corrupt. They're lying to the American people. They're fighting the American people. They've declared the American people are their enemy. And so I don't want their money. I won't take a penny. And when they come to Washington with their hands out for corporate welfare, for subsidies, for mandates, and they do that over and over again. Look, I've been standing against the cronyism and corporate welfare a long time, but I'm urging my colleagues in the Republican Party to stand against the cronyism and corporate welfare as well. We've launched a new website that is nowokemoney.com, nowokemoney.com. Because if we're not going to take the money from the corporate PACs, we've got to rely instead to communicate our message on individual Americans all across the country who are supporting us to the tune of $10 or $25 or $50. And I think the Republican Party needs to grow a backbone and stand up to woke corporate America.
And so does the Democratic Party, what I'm talking about, the voters. They themselves would agree with everything you just said. They don't want corporate welfare. They don't want crony capitalism. I talked last week about how Biden's throwing, $100 billion at the biggest auto companies in the country just so they can go green and they can do an electric car line and then take all the profits and pat themselves on the back for going green. Meanwhile, it's just a transfer of wealth from working Americans to Detroit so Joe Biden can win Michigan next time. If everybody saw that, I think everybody would come together and agree with everything you just said.
Look, the dirty little secret is that big business gets in bed with big government and long has done so. And my basic view is big is bad. Big government is bad, big business is bad, big tech is bad, big Hollywood is bad, big unions are bad. That as Republicans, as conservatives, we ought to support the little guy. We ought to support the small business owner. We ought to support the working men and women. Our party is a blue-collar party. Our party are the truck drivers and steel workers and waiters and waitresses and cops and firefighters, the men and women with calluses on their hands. That's who we're fighting for. That's who we should be fighting for. Not these corrupt cronyists who what happens is big business that they curl up in bed with big government, and they use government to try to kill their competitors, to try to kill the little guys, and we've got to be able to stand up and say no.
And that's what happened during the pandemic. You had the big multinational corporations enjoy the lockdowns because they could survive the lockdowns because everything's automated and they're not going to get crushed like a mom and pop restaurant or a small hardware store on the corner. They're making more money than they ever have before. And that's why they rooted for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party to win, because he was going to prolong the lockdown, and then when he got in control, shower them with our tax dollars. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Big tech made billions off the lockdowns, and you saw the blue state governors, states like California and New York, where they just shut down small businesses, they shut down restaurants, they destroyed jobs. You know, New York City, Broadway has been destroyed, and fine, if someone is a multimillionaire star, they'll be fine. But what about the carpenter? What about the lighting guy? What about the makeup woman? All the people whose livelihoods some arrogant leftists have just destroyed. And what a contrast to red states, states like Texas, states like Florida, that said, open up. People want to work. Kids want to be in school. You know, Joe Biden and the Democrats, they don't care that more than half the kids in America today are still not back in school in person 5 days a week. It's an outrage. And I think we ought to be standing for individual liberty against big government and against the abuse of power. And I hope that we see other Republicans following the lead and saying no to corporate PACs and instead standing with the people.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Senator Ted Cruz, go check out his op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you.